Hi guys, it's Blackie for Shaman's Forge Bushcraft with another tip about tinder. Now, a tree that often gets overlooked in the tinder department is the pine tree, and that is for a reason. Pine trees evolved very early on, and their bark is very unique. One of the things that it does is, notice these deep grooves in it. That channels water down to the roots. So any kind of rain that hits the tree is funneled down to its root system. What it also does is it makes it very resistant to fire. And many species of conifer and pine need fire to open up their cones. This acts like thermal insulation. It is bone dry and flakes off. And you would think, because of that, you could take your pocket knife and shave it down to fine dust, and it would take a ferrocerium rod. Very rarely. I've tried it several times, and I mean, you just get this powder, dry, dust, where you take a small piece of bark, like this, you can see all them layers in there. And you sit there and you start shaving it, and man, you just get this powder fine dust. And it's bone dry and it's powder fine. Should work. No. When a spark hits it, it smolders. It would make a good coal, but it does not make a good tinder. And for that reason, most people overlook the pine. Now, of course, fat lighter or lighter wood, which comes from the pine, is a totally different ballgame. It's an excellent tinder. And that's simply where the tree has had the sap up during the summer or the main growing season. And the tree has died for some reason, and all that sap is fermented. And if you process it, you get turpentine. It's a volatile oil that burns easily. And from that, since you will have, the wood will be bright orange, very tough, and you can shave it into fine giblets, and that will catch a spark from a ferrocerium rod. And that will easily ignite and is a great coal extender or a standalone fire creator. But the bark itself can be used as a type of tinder. When you have flash tinder, and this is tinder that goes up very, very quickly, like whoosh, and it's gone, such as the down from bull thistle, some cattail down, a few other types of tinder. If you will take pine bark and mix with it, you will make a longer burning tinder. Now, you can simply just take a thin blade knife or whatever and flake off these little bitty layers of the pine bark. They'll readily do this. And even if the tree is wet, if you sit there and you'll start doing this, you'll end up getting a pretty good pile of little, think of it like micro fuel sticks. And these little bitty things go, they snap like dry spaghetti. And because of that, if I will mix it in with my super fast burning tinder, I will get a dampening effect and I'll get a coal extender, because these will ignite. They just have a higher flash point. Now that's the bark. Pine cones make an excellent fire. If I'm going to make a real quick fire just to heat up a canteen or something, pine cones are great. Now I got to hit them with flame or a piece of fat lighter or some other igniting source. But once they're aflame, they make a bed of coals actually very quickly. So 10 or 15 pine cones make a big flame and a bed of coals fairly quickly to cook on. So pine cone fire is pretty quick. You can process them like this one by just simply ripping off the cones and crumbling them up, and again mixing them in with your tinder. Now these are best for putting into a tinder bundle, separately from a bird's nest. A bird's nest is made up of very fine material that will readily catch a spark. A tinder bundle is something that once ignited is going to hold the flame and feed it in a micro so you can get bigger wood to go. Typically a bird's nest is great and easy to find in dry conditions, and a tinder bundle and tinder you've carried with you to make a bird's nest are put together to ignite damp or marginal wood. Now this is a piece of pine I just picked up over here from a fire that is bone dry. And you see that once it dries, it makes just powder fine, I mean super fine little bitty curls. The wood is really good at that. And if you can make a feather stick out of pine fairly easily. And so, as a tinder wood, the pine is actually pretty good once you know its limitations. The birch tree, you just hit it with a spark after you've shaved it up, and poof, yonder it goes. The cedar tree, rough it up, hit it with a spark, poof. Tulip poplar bark, rough it up, hit it with a spark, poof. Pine's a little more finicky. Pine wants you to process it. Now once you do that, you've got a superior coal. It's not as good on ignition. The birch, the cedar, etc. don't produce a coal. The pine does. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Bushcraft, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.